Nous sommes en audience publique, Monsieur le...
The court officer, we are in public session, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Ms. Alexandra, please proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor, and good afternoon. Good afternoon, Madame. I hope you had a good lunch.
Let me explain something I should have told the witness before you started. Madam, Ms. Allegandra's counsel, as we introduced her earlier on when the first time you were in court, she's a lawyer for Mr. Ruto. She'll be asking you questions about what you have testified to and possibly other things. You're still under oath. The earlier advice I gave you still remains. Please listen carefully. Try to understand what it is she is asking you. And if you are in a position to answer her question, then answer it. If you don't understand, you can ask her, you tell her you don't understand, she will ask again. At all times, we are interested in only what you know, what you saw, what you heard, what you felt, things like that. All right? We're now in public session. Again, be careful what answers you give. We do not want to reveal your identity to the public. Thank you. Ms. Allegandra, please. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Your Honor. Madam Witness, this afternoon, what I would like to discuss with you would be the issues whereby the court will have a good understanding as to exactly what took place on the ground in 2007 and 2008. Is that okay? Madam, can I ask that if you want to say yes, for you to say it into the microphone, please? Because when you nod, your answers are not captured.
Okay.
Madam, am I right that you have lived in the North Rift Valley for more than 20 years?
Yes.
And am I right, madam, that you went to school and you've worked there?
Yes.
And in the course of your life, you've mixed with people from all ethnicities, am I right?
Yes.
Madam, you've also been very involved in politics. That's correct, isn't it?
Yes.
In the 2007 elections, you were supporting and campaigning for the PNU and for Mwai Kibaki for president. That's correct?
Yes.
What about the last elections, madam? Who were you supporting?
I did not participate.
Did you have a candidate of choice?
No.
And I'm going now to 2007. You will agree with me, won't you, that it was one of the most closely contested elections in your living memory. Am I right?
Yes.
And you will recall that in the lead-up to the elections, there was a lot of suspicion that the presidential elections was going to be rigged in favor of the PNU and Mwai Kibaki. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And madam, for instance, you will recall, perhaps immediately before the elections, where there was an incident where a few administration police officers were killed in Nyanza province because it had been alleged that they were carrying pre-marked ballot papers and that they were going to rig the election in favor of Mwai Kibaki and the PNU. Do you recall that incident, madam?
No.
Madam, I'm going to play you a short video, and I'd like you to watch that video and tell the court if you recall seeing that at any time. Is that okay?
Yes.
Your Honor, could I ask that Ken D02 0022 0002 be played? And I request that it be played until 37 seconds.
Court officer, please oblige.
Barely a few hours to the polls, electoral violence has reared its head, with sporadic scenes of violence being witnessed in various parts of Nyanza province. In Homa Bay, 3 administration police are reported to have been killed over allegations that they were ferrying already marked ballot papers. In Oyugis, the situation is indifferent. 2 administration police were last night killed by a gang of people over similar allegations. This morning, a Nissan Matatu was burned in Oyugis Kasipul Kabondo constituency. The locals ambushed the occupants of the car, claiming
Madam, did you watch that video?
No.
Do you mean watch it now?
Yes, I did, Your Honor. Madam, the video I just played for you, did you listen to what was being said by the newsreader? And do you recall that incident at the time it happened?
No.
Moving forward, Madam, yesterday when you were testifying, you spoke about an incident at the Brookside Dairy. Do you remember?
Yes.
And you told the court that that incident was all about some rumors and allegations that there were ballot boxes with marked ballot papers that were being hidden inside Brookside Dairy. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And the suspicion...
Salakendra, you remember the pauses that need to be observed, but before that, there is a matter for the record. What about line 8? When I had intervened and asked whether you mean watch it now, and then you asked a question, Madam, the video I just played for you, did you listen to what was said by the newsreader? The witness did answer. She said yes to that question. It doesn't appear. And then you asked your next question, do you recall that incident at the time it happened? It is there that she said no. So there is a yes missing in between the 2 questions you posed between lines 10 and 12.
Indeed, Your Honor, and it's probably my fault because I must have been speaking over the witness. So, if Your Honor pleases, I can put it again. Or
Well,
I accept that what she did say was yes.
Yes, I think we can leave it at that. I've already reflected it on the record, and we all agree that that's what happened. It's just for us to just remember our pauses. At least, I think 5 seconds might be too much. 2 is good enough, but the point is, if we have our minds to 5 seconds, it makes it necessary to observe some pause at all, than none. Than none. So please proceed.
Madam, I was asking you about what you told the court yesterday, that there was an incident at the Brookside Dairy where there were allegations that there were pre-marked ballot papers being hidden inside, and that it was being done in order to rig the elections in favor of PNU and Mwai Kibaki. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Now, Madam, after you voted on 27th December, you said you went to number 1. And you spent the rest of the day, 28th, 29th, 30th, including the 27th, and you were following the tallying of the presidential results on the television. You recall saying that, Madam?
Yes.
And Madam, you will agree with me, wouldn't you, that there was a delay in the announcement of the results of the presidential elections, wasn't there?
Yes, there was a delay.
And you will also agree with me that Kenyans were getting very anxious. They wanted to know who the next president of Kenya was going to be.
Yes.
And Madam, do you recall, while you were following these events on the TV, the comments by the ECK chairman, Samuel Kivitu, when he was commenting about the delays in the results coming in? And his comments were, what kind of cooking is going on? Do you remember hearing that?
Yes.
And Madam, do you also recall that the ECK chairman, on that same occasion when he said, what kind of cooking is going on, referring to the delays, he also said, if people were coming with false results, they will never see the sun again. Do you recall hearing him say that, Madam?
No.
Madam, I'm going to play you another very short video, and I'd ask you to watch it and to listen to what is being said. Is that okay?
Okay.
Your Honor, can I ask that Ken D09 0019 0003 be played, please? And it can be played until minutes 1.37 seconds.
Court officer, please play the video.
Monsieur le Président, est-ce que le Conseil pourrait indiquer...
Mr. President, could Council indicate whether the video is confidential or public, and could this video be played now?
Be public.
It can be played in the public, says counsel.
Like business, and these are the impression, not home that here, you are not very good Christians and Muslims in the accepted in Western countries, and as a result, accepted in China. Polar China, if I say so, and I'm not saying it is bad. You may what I've said might excite some of you because of Satan taking over. I hope we will have somebody who will tell Satan to go away from here, the devil, so that we wait for those. the results that they are looking for their way home. Not home here. And they will not be accepted in Western countries. Maybe accepted in China. Paula, China, if I say so, I'm not saying it is bad. But I notice you like business. And these are very good business people who know how to maneuver figures. Because what else can they be doing? But we don't want to get excited. We want to think about it. The other day when I asked if there was anybody to pray, it was very difficult among you to get somebody to pray. And it gave the impression that you are not very good Christians and the Muslims and the Hindus. And as a result, what I've said might excite some of you because of Satan taking over. I hope we will have somebody who will tell Satan to go away from here, the devil, so that we await for those results. And I wish it were possible for us to fly there and go and find out what kind of cooking is going on. We hope nothing is going wrong, because if people come here with false results, they will be exciting people for nothing, and they will never see the sun again. As far as
Madam, do you recall watching that on TV at the time?
No.
Madam, do you recall that even the international election observers noted that tension was rising across the country because of the delays in the announcement of the presidential election results? Do you recall that?
Yes.
Now, Madam, I'm going to play you another short video, and I'm going to ask you to recall whether or not you saw this on the TV. Okay? Your Honor, could I ask that Ken D09 0019 0138 be played, please? And the whole video can be played for that.
How long is that?
It's a short video, Your Honor.
Right. Okay, court officer, please play it. While the video is being loaded, by tomorrow, can both sides advise of the recommendation earlier? Parties play their own videos, so we can, if possible, start doing that from tomorrow rather than wait for a long time.
Yes, indeed, Your Honors. We'll consult with the court officers after this hearing.
Ask their supporters to maintain peace and be patient as ECK concludes tallying of the results of Thursday's poll. The observers, however, say that the long delay in releasing the presidential results was leading to mistrust among the general populace.
2 days after Kenyans went to the polls to cast their votes in what has been billed as the most competitive election in Kenya's 44 years of independence, the name of the man who will occupy State House for the next 5 years remains unknown. The presidential results are yet to be announced, a situation that has led to rising tensions across the country. 3 of the teams that have been monitoring the election process in Kenya were also raising concerns over the pace at which the ECK has been releasing the results.
They have rendered the announcement of the result of the presidential election impossible, while the tension in the population is rising. The people want to know who their next president is going to be. We understand that.
The European Union mission, however, was calling for calm and patience as they await the final tallying and the announcement of the results.
Specifically, we call on everyone to let the ECK do its work on their behalf, that is, to count and to tally the votes in an atmosphere free of pressure and intimidation.
Former Sierra Leone President and chairperson of the Commonwealth Observation Team said it was critical that Kenyans and their political leaders preached calm and peace in order to prevent an escalation of violence.
Appeal to the leaders in this particular contest to regard the election itself as a friendly contest. It's not a war.
But at the same time, the three teams said they had noted that there were quite a number of irregularities.
The announcement by any of the stakeholders in this process have no meaning in law. The only announcement that have a meaning in law are the ones coming from the ECK.
The observers are now calling on the ECK to publish the provisional presidential results on its website as one way of keeping the public updated. Brenda Mulinya, NTV, Vote 07.
Madam Witness, were you able to watch that video clearly?
Yes.
Now, Madam, what you saw there, you saw scenes of excited youth running around. Did you see that?
Yes.
And Madam, you will agree that the delay in the results was leading to mistrust and was adding to tensions rising. Am I right?
Yes.
Now, Madam, moving forward to the 29th of December, you will recall that the TV channels around the country aired the chaotic scenes at the KICC National Tallying Center. You recall that, Madam?
Yes.
And finally, Madam, on 30th of December, at around 5 p.m., the results of the presidential elections were announced, and President Mwai Kibaki was declared the winner. Do you recall?
Yes.
And Madam, very soon after the results were announced, it was shown on television, the ECK chairman being whisked away from the KICC. Do you recall seeing that, Madam?
Yes.
And am I right, Madam, that the next thing that happened was within 1 hour what all Kenyans were watching on their TV screens was the swearing-in ceremony of President Mwai Kibaki at the State House. Am I right?
Yes.
It all happened very fast. Am I right, Madam?
Yes.
And it all happened amid allegations that the elections had been rigged. Am I right?
Yes.
And Madam, you will also recall that the swearing-in ceremony in fact took place at twilight. It was almost getting dark, wasn't it, Madam?
Yes.
Madam, I'm going to play you another short video, and I would ask you to please pay attention to what is being said at the very beginning of the video. Is that all right?
Yes.
Your Honours, can I ask that Ken D09 0019 0002 be played, and for it to be paused at 13 seconds.
All of us, please play the video and pause it at 13 seconds. Ms. Alejandra, while you're raising those questions, will we, at some point, be hearing evidence, either through this witness or through some other witnesses, of how long it took in the past to announce election results, how long it would be in the past, it took in the past between announcement and results and swearing in of the winner, as well as what hour of day it would take, or it did take rather, for the swearing in ceremony.
Your Honor, indeed, the defense will be calling evidence on all those issues. And additionally, Your Honor, if I may, I think the next video may answer some of these questions, Your Honor.
Fair enough.
And Your Honor, just for the assistance.
Ambassadors, but because it's getting...
I'm sorry. The transcript of this video is at tab 6, Your Honor. And for the prosecution, it's Ken D09 0022 0043.
Dark, we have to go ahead. Thank you very much. Ambassadors, but because it's getting dark, we have to go ahead. Thank you very much. First is the
Madam, I just want to ask you a few questions while we are paused here. Did you hear the start of this video, Madam? The voice of Ambassador Modaura saying, "Ambassadors, it's getting dark." Did you hear that?
Yes.
And also, Madam, if you look at the screen, do you see breaking news? Riots erupt in Kibera, Ongata Rongai, Eastlands, and Kisumu. Do you see that, Madam?
Yes.
So you will agree with me, Madam, that as the swearing-in ceremony of President Mwai Kibaki was going on in the State House, chaos was taking place in Nairobi and other areas. You will agree?
Yes.
Can I ask that we continue playing until 22 seconds, please?
Mr. Alejandro, what date is this video? What date is this swearing in?
Yeah, this is the 30th of December, which is the day Mwai Kibaki was sworn in.
Presentation of the certificate of declaration of the newly elected president.
Madam, can you read on your screen? Breaking news. 10 people killed in Kisii.
Yes. Breaking news. 10 people killed in Kisii.
Thank you, Madam. And you can continue playing, please, until 3 minutes and 28.
By the chairman of the Electoral Commission.
Your Excellency, honorable members of parliament, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the law says that the Electoral Commission must identify the person who is to be sworn as a president because a fake one might come. And it also provides for a certificate to be given. And so I've got the certificate here, which I don't know the procedure, whether I should take it there. It reads, Certificate of Results of Presidential Election. The Electoral Commission of Kenya certifies that the candidate who has been duly elected the President of the Republic of Kenya under the provisions of Section 5 of the Constitution in the presidential elections held on 27th December 2007 is Honorable Mwai Kibaki. I will now present the certificate to His Excellency.
I now call on the Lord Chief Justice to come and conduct the swearing-in ceremony.
I call upon His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Mwai Kibaki, for swearing.
Asante. Mimi
Madam, were you able to have a good look at what was happening in the video?
Yes.
And you will agree with me that was the swearing-in ceremony of President Mwai Kibaki?
Yes.
And Madam, will you agree with me that the ceremony was rather informal?
Yes.
And you will agree with me that even the ECK chairman is saying he's not sure of the procedure. It was that informal. You agree, Madam?
Yes.
Madam, do you recall that immediately after the swearing-in, or quite close in time, the Minister for Internal Security, Honorable John Michuki, he imposed an immediate ban on live broadcast. Do you recall that, Madam? It was on the same day.
Yes.
And am I right, Madam? Screens went blank. That's what happened, yes?
Yes.
And Madam, just to borrow your own phrase, at this point there was a lot of rumor and speculation that was going around, about events that were taking place. Am I right?
Yes.
Now, Madam, do you remember hearing a rumor at this time that Raila Odinga and William Ruto had been arrested and William Ruto had been shot? Did you hear this rumor going around at this time?
Yes, I did.
And Madam, you will recall that this decision of the Minister of Internal Security, John Michuki, it was condemned by the Media Association, wasn't it?
Yes.
And Madam, I'm going to play you another short video, and you can tell me that whether or not you have any knowledge of what is being said in that video. Okay?
Yes.
Jonas, can I ask that we play Ken D09 0022 0011 until 2 minutes and 21, please.
It will be played. Court officer, please proceed.
And Madam, while we're getting ready, can I also say that you're very free to have a glass of water if you'd like.
The directive was given yesterday by Internal Security Minister John Mishuki, arguing that he was out to avert further chaos in the country through the broadcast of inciting messages. However, the move has been largely challenged.
The order is impractical and cannot be implemented within the realities of our operations. This order undermines the democratic gains that this country has made. We feel that this order is an overreaction by the minister, considering that the media has upheld professional standards in the coverage of the elections.
The Media Council chairman further says such a directive is inappropriate during this period with emerging differences over the just concluded general election.
This order, coming against the background of a hotly contested and disputed election, will be construed to be an attempt to black out the voice of the opposition. This presents a very serious challenge to the execution of our professional duties, considering that as a media, we're expected to serve all.
The council also called on the Minister for Internal Security to lift the ban to allow the media continue disseminating information.
In light of the above, the media industry resolves that we will not succumb to any attempt to muzzle our freedom, and we will not play, or rather will not accept any attempt to black us out.
Elsewhere, the leader of ODM, Raila Odinga, also condemned the move.
Well, you can only now rely on the international media, and that's why we want to appeal to you to be available so that we can talk to you, because there's no way that we can reach the people of Kenya. Even if we want to tell the people to be calm, there's no way we can reach them.
Raila termed it as
Madam, you were able to watch the video and hear what was being said?
Yes.
And Madam, it is true, is it not, that the media ban was increasing tensions and it was creating a situation where the leaders could not reach the people to tell them to calm down. That is correct, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, Madam, it is also correct that the international organizations were also criticizing the media ban, and they were warning about the looming dangers that was going to happen if it continued. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And Madam, I'm going to read you something. Please just listen to me and tell me if you agree. Okay?
Okay.
Yon, I'm referring to the document at tab 5. And that is Ken D09 0022 0010.
Ms. Allegendra, as you know, during the last exercise, I did signal some discomfort with the habit of having documents like this read to witnesses and then we have to sit and go through it. There needs certainly be a better way of doing it so as to make things more efficient. We wouldn't want a situation where every witness has to sit down and counsel will have to put all sorts of documents that picked off the internet to witnesses who do not have connections to it. Have we thought about a better way of doing this?
In fact, Your Honor, what I was proposing to do is to read a section to the witness and to ask her if she recalls hearing this from any international media, because she did say that she recalls hearing the international media also issuing a similar warning as the Media Association chairman.
Is that inconsistent with, if you put that to her first and then see how she reacts, if she doesn't give you what you want, then we may consider looking at something else, even if that is appropriate. But let's first put the question.
Madam, do you recall hearing that the international community was also criticizing the media ban? And in fact, they were saying that such a ban would result in streets being ruled by rumor and disinformation. And they also suggested that it was imposing a climate of intimidation and it may plunge the country into confusion. Do you recall that that was the view being held by the international community?
No.
Your Honor, perhaps I'll just leave the issue of this document and we'll deal with it later, Your Honor.
Very well. I think that's the way to proceed. If she hasn't heard it, it doesn't mean you cannot prove the proposition through somebody else who's heard it.
Stand guided, Your Honor. Madam, you are aware, are you not, that on the 31st of December, the European Union observers came out on public television and they doubted the credibility of the results that declared Mwai Kibaki as the winner of the 2007 elections. Do you recall that?
No.
Madam, I'm going to play you another short video and I'll ask you to listen to what is being said. Is that okay? Your Honor, I'll ask that Ken D09 0022 0012 be played, please.
Court officer, please play the video.
Chief European Union observer Alexander Graf Lambsdorff says there are doubts of the credibility of the tallying process in the presidential elections. He expressed his disappointment that ECK did not fulfill its responsibilities in ensuring a free and fair process.
The European Union says the general elections were conducted openly, fairly and professionally from preparation and deployment of materials and personnel across the country. However, the chief EU observer says Kenya's presidential poll count is questionable and a far cry from the successful elections in 2002.
Our standard, our yardstick, if you wish, for the Kenyan elections in 2007 were the elections 5 years ago. We wanted Kenya to maintain the standard, ideally even to improve on it, for the sake of Kenyan democracy.
Alexander said that doubts remained over the accuracy of the count. He says the Electoral Commission of Kenya had not established the credibility of the tallying process.
And despite the good efforts of Chairman Kivuitu, the ECK has not fulfilled its responsibilities to create such a process that is credible and is acceptable to all parties and candidates.
Meanwhile, local observers have also raised concerns about the significant discrepancies in figures released by the tallying centers and those by ECK at KICC.
There was confusion in some polling stations resulting from the splitting of voters' registers based on alphabetical order. Furthermore, there was swapping and misplacement of ballot papers. This was especially noted in certain areas.
The delay in announcing the outcomes led to a heightened fear, insecurity and anger in the country. There were also delays of results from certain regions.
In some constituencies, the parliamentary and civic election results were announced earlier than the presidential results, resulting in suspicion and intense anxiety.
Madam, am I correct that effectively what the EU observers and the others you saw on the video were doing was providing support to the views of the ODM supporters that the elections had been rigged? Would you agree?
Your Honors, I'm going to object to the question and to the procedure that Defense Counsel has taken with these types of documents and propositions. I understand that the proposition has already been put to the witness in regards to what knowledge he had on this subject matter, and the witness has already responded in a clear manner. Now, the evidence that we're putting to the witness is evidence that should be led by Defense Counsel in their case. We don't have any evidence as to the authenticity of these videos, as to the date at which they were taken. So it puts Defense Counsel in a position as when they're purporting something to the witness, and the rest of us, prosecution and the chamber, have no evidence as to the authenticity, the date at which time this was taken, and other factors that are important. And that's why the prosecution's case should not be used as a means to put in the defense videos and other documents that should be more appropriately be led in the defense case and not in the prosecution's case. So once again, once the proposition is put to the witness and the witness says clearly that she has no information on the matter, I don't see what the point is of putting a video or having Defense Counsel read a newspaper article to the witness.
And I must say I'm not quite following my learned friend's objection, because from what I'm hearing from the witness, she said she was familiar with what was being said by all these people, Your Honor. And what is even more worrying, Your Honor, is the fact that the prosecution are saying that they have no evidence of all these matters, which is very widely in the public domain. And these are snippets from newsrooms, Your Honor, which is very easily available and can be easily confirmed. And my questions are quite valid, Your Honor, because the witness did say she was watching the TV for 3 days.
Ms. Kendra, this is not your fault, because we started on this basis earlier, allowing things to come in. So it's time to start putting brakes on what comes in. There are two things. If the witness has said she did not recall hearing what the EU have said, if you play the video, you can ask her if that refreshes her memory. That's one thing. If the memory is not refreshed, I believe you can also put on the other proposition to her about the ODM views without linking it to the video. So that's an independent proposition. See whether she agrees with what ODM people are saying. And later on, if you have witnesses to call to this thing, to do that. So why don't we see if the video refreshed memory, and then see where we go from there.
I'm grateful, Your Honor. I believe the witness did say that she recalled those events, and perhaps I can move forward and take what Your Honor said on guidance and put the questions to her. Madam Witness, do you recall that around the time that the EU observers were saying that the elections were not fairly conducted, that the ODM was also complaining that the elections had been rigged? Do you recall that, madam?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm just going to move forward. I think the record will be quite clear.
Thank you.
Madam, now moving forward, I recall that during your testimony, you spoke about seeing 5 Kalenjin bodies. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And I note, madam, that my learned friend, the prosecutor, dealt with that issue very, very quickly, but we would like to ask you some questions about that. Okay?
Okay.
Now, madam, am I correct that one of the bodies that you recognized was that of a famous athlete?
Yes.
And do you remember his name, madam?
No.
Could it have been Lucas Sang?
I don't know his name.
Have you heard of anyone by the name of Lucas Sang?
No.
Madam, what I'm saying to you is that on that day, there was a famous athlete that was killed, and his name is Lucas Sang. Do you have knowledge about that?
Yes.
So you have knowledge that Lucas Sang was killed? Yes?
I couldn't tell his name. All I knew there was an athlete who was killed.
Now, madam, you said you saw the body of this famous athlete. Can you describe for the court, please, what you saw? In what condition was his body?
The bodies were burnt.
Did you notice anything else about his body?